What's up everybody, my name is Trey. Welcome back to my channel. This video is going to be focused on one of my favorite albums of really all time, Amerie's All I Have. It is her debut album. All I Have was released in 2002, and I wanted to just talk through some details of the project, but also the story leading up to Amerie getting her record deal to actually be able to release the project. She has a really cool story. She's definitely one of my favorite artists. I just love her artistry. Such a creative, visionary, truly, when it comes to each of the eras in her career. And we're just gonna dive into All I Have and really looking into where it started for Amerie. And also just talking through why the album is still so iconic and people still love it decades later, 20 years later. So for a little bit of background on Amerie, she grew up a child of the military. So she lived in several different countries, Germany, South Korea. She also lived in several states in the US. Her dad was in the military. And she also often talks about how her mom is a classical pianist and also a singer. So she often references her mom as being one of her early inspirations and people that helped kind of shape her creative ear and exposed her very early on to music, which she would then go on to pursue herself. And Amerie actually did not start pursuing music until after she graduated high school. So that is when she started actively, professionally trying to break into the industry. And it took her several years for her to finally make the connection that then would lead to her record deal and her debut album, All I Have. And in an interview with Hip Online from 2002, Amerie went into detail just about how long it took for her to finally break into the industry and really start making moves toward her debut album. She said, "Well, I was working really hard at it starting in 1997. It took until 2000 when I met Rich Harrison. Altogether, it took 5 years. But when the right connection came, it really took off. But before that, it was a lot of hit and miss." So a key piece of Amerie making that jump from an aspiring singer, an aspiring artist, to a signed artist, and eventually releasing her debut album, All I Have, part of that journey, a big piece, was her enrolling at Georgetown University in Washington, D.C. And while she was at Georgetown, she had a friend who ended up being a mutual friend, a mutual connection of Rich Harrison, and that friend was able to connect them for them to eventually lead to a partnership, a collaboration that would turn out to be All I Have. During her time at Georgetown, she was an English major, a fine arts minor, and she tells this really, really cool story about very much just being at the right place at the right time. She told 100.3 The Beat in St. Louis, Missouri, in an interview. It had to be around 2005 because it was to promote her sophomore album, Touch. In that interview, she told this story about how she met Rich Harrison, and basically it was through her failed attempt to be a part of a girl group. Members kept falling off, and in that time period, that led to her having this opportunity to meet and connect with Rich Harrison, who would then eventually produce her debut album, All I Have. It's just a very interesting story.
Actually, one of the girls that I was auditioning for, a girl group that I had, which never actually took off because it was hard to find anyone who would want to stay in the group. It takes a lot of dedication to do it, and when you're dealing with a lot of people, it's hard. So girls were coming in every month, every 2 months, girls would be switched out. And one of the girls was trying to do a fashion show at this club, and I met the manager of the club, and at that time, I was always singing for anybody who would listen, just trying to get out there.
And she also went to Georgetown, so she's really, really smart at the same time.
Really?
Really
Thanks,
smart.
Cole. Okay, so the area, and it's just very, it has a lot of artistry, lots of musicians, lots of people trying to get out there. And so I just happened to let that manager know that I sang, and he was managing the club at the time, didn't remember my name or anything. But 2 years later, I was walking into the club, and he was on the phone with Rich Harrison, and Rich was on the phone just telling him how, he really was serious about the music thing. He was really trying to go somewhere with it, and he just happened to see my face and was like, "She sings, all right." So he kind of hooked us up, and then after that, I ended up on the phone with Rich. We agreed to meet at McDonald's just because he said he was a producer. I mean, you meet a lot of guys who say a lot of things. So I was like, that's a neutral, safe place.
McDonald's,
the parking lot.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, the parking lot.
At Howard University?
At Howard, which is gone now. The McDonald's is gone.
Next to the 2 towers they built? Okay.
Yeah, it's gone. Right. So we went and he played me some of the beats that ended up on the album later on. And then I sang him some of the songs that I've written.
So that meeting at McDonald's then led to them working on demos. Those demos then eventually helped lead Amerie to her first record deal with Columbia Records. And the record deal with Columbia is what led to us getting her debut album, All I Have. All I Have was released on July 30th, 2002, and it debuted at number 9 on the Billboard 200 chart, selling 195,000 copies in its first week. The album songs were all written and produced by Rich Harrison, but Amerie and Corey Rooney, they co-wrote the album's outro track. Greg Lake received a writing credit on Got to Be There since it used a sample of a song he wrote for the rock trio he performed in called Emerson. And jazz bassist Miroslav Vitus received a writing credit on Need You Tonight for the sample it used of his song Synthesizers Dance. Now, All I Have actually had an album teaser released ahead of the project's official debut or official release, and it featured 4 tracks on it. Why Don't We Fall in Love, I Just Died, Talking to Me, and Can't Let Go were the 4 tracks on the teaser. And that was pretty standard for albums that came out at that time, just to give a preview of a project and also kind of build anticipation around what would be coming, especially from a debut artist like Amerie was at the time that her project dropped. The album's debut single, Why Don't We Fall in Love, was released on April 29th, and it peaked at number 23 on the Billboard Hot 100 and reached number 9 on the Hot R&B Hip Hop Songs chart. And it also hit number 3 on the Hot Dance Club Play charts. And we all know that when Why Don't We Fall in Love was dropped, it has this very just airy, joyful, floating. It sounds like love. It sounds like care and romance. People, when it came out, people were obsessed with the song. People are still just enamored and love that track. Largely just due to it, I say all the time, whenever I'm talking about this album or that song, it just feels like summer. It feels like summer love. It feels like just having a good time and enjoying yourself. And decades after this project first came out, people still look at that track as just this quintessential summer track. Summer has not started until you have played Why Don't We Fall in Love, some on your iPod, in your house, on your Bluetooth, at the gym, wherever you are when the official kickoff of summer happens in June. It ain't real. Summer ain't real until you play Why Don't We Fall in Love. The album's second and final single from All I Have was Talking to Me, and it reached number 18 on the Hot R&B Hip Hop Songs chart and number 51 on the Billboard Hot 100. The video for Why Don't We Fall in Love was directed by Benny Boom, and it was released in June 2002. And the video for Talking to Me was directed by Dave Meyers, and it was released in October of 2002. In her interview with Hip Online, she also went into detail just about what she learned from Rich as they were working together and leading up until the All I Have release, just kind of what she was able to learn and skills-wise and what she gained from their collaboration and them just sharing space creatively. She said, day in and day out, I was learning certain things, especially with sound. We talked about the sound we wanted to get. He also learned about my voice and me. We found that we could use my voice as an instrument. I learned a lot about the melodies and harmonies. I still listen to tracks sometimes and hear some of the harmonies, and it's just amazing. He taught me a lot about timing too. When you listen to All I Have, you really can feel the connection, and there had to be some form of like a synergy, this melding of creative minds in a sense for them to come up and craft something that again has been so timeless. And I hearing that quote in particular from Amerie, and clearly this was in 2002, so when she was promoting All I Have, it makes sense that she would have felt that connection. And she also in that interview talked about just the instant chemistry that they felt that they had together. And it really was reflected in sonically, lyrically, creatively what they put out on the All I Have album. To promote the album, Amerie, she toured with Usher on the tour for his 8701 album. And she also toured with Nelly on the Nellyville tour as well. She did 12 dates for the Nellyville tour. And Amerie also had several live performances of Why Don't We Fall in Love to promote the album as well. She performed on 106 in Park. She performed on Soul Train as well. And one of my most favorite, I guess you could say, facts from this era is she performed at Showtime at the Apollo. So that has to be a pretty epic piece of history to have been a part of and to have been able to perform at the Apollo Theater. And speaking in a 2002 interview with Ray DeJean from Video Music Box, Amerie specifically, she noted that she really loved the slow songs on All I Have. And she called out All I Have, the title track, and she also said that Nothing Like Loving You was also one of her favorites, just because you can very much live in the moment and just sing along to those songs. Amerie won a Soul Train Music Award for Best R&B Soul or Rap New Artist in 2003 for All I Have. And in October of 2003, All I Have was certified as gold by the Recording Industry Association of America. Amerie's All I Have, it is still a classic album. I know I keep it in rotation. I love to revisit it pretty regularly. The work that Rich Harrison did production-wise, it is such a cohesive album. It flows so well. And the themes, it is very much focused on clearly love, romance. It's just it's always timely, if that makes sense. You know, stories of love, and that definitely will never be something that people will not want to hear, especially when it's done and it's packaged in sonically in a package that you'll just want to continue to revisit, just due to it also just sounding beautiful. It is a very beautiful album to me. Well written, very thoughtful lyrics as well. And you also have to add in the fact that Amerie, her tone, I've always loved her tone as a singer. She did just such a great job bringing those songs to life. And that also, to me, plays a big role in why All I Have and the content has just been able to continue to sustain and continues to really connect and move people. And Why Don't We Fall in Love? I said it before, I will say it again. It is a iconic song. It is a track that it will never lose its gusto. It will never lose its importance, just because people connected so much and continue to connect to, again, that theme of love, and the way that Amerie chose to tell that story with her voice, with her creative gifts and her artistry. So that's just a little bit of history about All I Have, and some pieces I thought were interesting about the conception of the album and also its story, you know, post-production, and just very much how that era moved and what led to Amerie even coming into the music game and her journey in. What do you think about All I Have? What are some of your favorite songs on the project? And outside of All I Have, what are some of your favorite Amerie albums or songs on other projects that she's released? Again, she's one of my favorite artists of all time. And I'm always excited for those moments where folks can connect over artists that they love. And we can get another moment just to laud and to recognize both the artistry of her and then also the artistry of Rich Harrison, and just the goodness and the epic piece of art that they created with All I Have together, and that being her debut album. What a great way to kick off your career. Like, Amerie, y'all did that. Y'all did that. And as always, thanks for watching. My name is Trey. Be sure to give me a thumbs up, subscribe if you enjoyed this video. I'll be continuing to do some deep dives and looks into albums that I enjoy listening to, as well as looking into and kind of commentating and giving some analysis on artists that I enjoy engaging with their music as well. And I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you find some time to listen to all I have, if you can. If you can, I know you can do it, so find a way. And yeah, I'll see you next time.